So Pakistan's military and political leadership visiting Turkey, Iran, Azerbaijan, seeking additional military hardware from China, from unmanned combat aerial vehicles to J-35 stealth fighters to long-range missiles to rockets. Imagine Pakistan is a beggar country. Its people, they don't have enough money for 2 square meals a day. They're taking the 25th IMF bailout and spending billions of dollars on military hardware. Joining me on this India Today special broadcast is Dr. Tara Kartha, former director of the National Security Council Secretariat. Sushant Sareen joins us on this broadcast. Also with us is Ambassador Ashok Sajjanhar. Sandeep stays with me on the show. And I want to quickly begin by asking you, Sushant Sareen, your appreciation. You know, the Field Marshal of Begaristan is already in Turkey with this long list of weapons he wants to buy. They have no money. You've seen that weapons list. What do you make of it?
Gaurav, I'm not surprised. You know, the Pakistanis had this inflated sense of their defense preparedness, and that was, shown up for what it's worth. Frankly, I think I would encourage them to go and buy more Turkish stuff, which has proven to be rubbish. So they can buy the Turkish stuff. The Turks can get a market in Pakistan. The Turks are not giving anything for free to Pakistan. They've never given anything for free. So if the Pakistanis want to spend themselves into ruin buying Turkish rubbish, they're most welcome to do it. But it's not as though we are going to be, standing still and not, upgrading our own systems. In fact, we would probably be doubling up on modernizing our own forces and bringing in new technology. Then there is the China factor. The Chinese, of course, give them very subsidized stuff, much cheaper than anywhere else, but they also charge money. The question is, how much money can Pakistan afford to spend at a time when its budget is already very severely stretched? Now,
Yes.
This time around, there is some speculation in Pakistan that their defense budget is likely to go up by almost about 25%. And this does not include the fact that their pension bill has again skyrocketed apparently this year. So on the fiscal side, they're facing a lot of pressure, clearly. But I think in a country where the army calls the shots, the army runs the show, I think this is a natural progression of things to happen. And frankly, we'll need to match up and we will need to modernize and we will need to get the bureaucracy out of the way so that we can get the latest systems and new technologies in our armed forces as quickly as possible. And from
absolutely. Dr. Tara Kartha, Pakistan is already taking its 25th bailout from the International Monetary Fund. It's, despite Operation Sindoor, they've got the next tranche of some $2 billion that they're seeking. But is the world actually funding radical Islamist terror? China is, Turkey openly is, so is Azerbaijan. But what is it that we need to do to ensure this doesn't happen?
People sort of supplying weapons is something which is part of the deal, right? Everybody supplies weapons to everybody else and that sort of thing goes on. Here the problem was that those drones we were talking of, the Songa drones, were never actually seen in public. There was no public notification at all. And suddenly they appeared out of the blue after, you remember, the Turkish aircraft came and then there were the Songas. That is what concerned me. That this is the first time, now I could be wrong, maybe they supplied it earlier, but we had nothing. I mean, we were watching this for some time. So that is worrying, that they stepped in at a time of extreme tension and supplied these drones. Songas are no big deal, but then they were there. Number two is that this, what they call the three brothers, the Turkish, Azerbaijan, China kind of thing. And this development of the Khan aircraft, we cannot, which you just showed on your slide, excellent. The next generation fighter aircraft powered by Russian engines.
Yes.
They don't have engines of their own. This is the further on to the RD-93 engine. Absolutely. Possibly that is somewhere where we can step in. You need to get your own, let's face it, you have to get your own industry up and going. You've got people who can make Songar here. And they haven't been given the contracts. So we need to be on the fast track in getting our own innovation people here.
There's a lot of made in India stuff that was used during Operation Sindoor, and I've seen it firsthand in the battlefield, and I've also seen what a disaster Turkish drones were, and we have debris of several Turkish drones. I've also put it out on social media platforms and on India Today. But Sandeep, concerned about the manner in which General Asim Munir, is going around with this list? The J-35s getting at 50% discount from China, said to be their 5th generation stealth fighter.
Not surprising at all, Gaurav. Pakistan is a security state, let's face it, and the military controls everything. And, Pakistan's national security priorities are actually the Pakistan Army's priorities. So it's not about feeding the people or, building dams or canals or starting a green revolution or anything. Those are not their priorities. Their priorities are to build up the Pakistan military using this new set of weapons that they got. And, it's not so much about the weapons, Gaurav, it is about the mindset of the Pakistan military. What these new weapons do to their mindset. They are in this fantasy world that they can somehow match up to India. They can, it's all about equivalence with India. And this has been the case right from 1947. Every time you see a new weapon platform entering the Pakistan military, there's a sugar rush. Oh, we have the Starfighter. We can beat all the Indian Air Force aircraft. Oh, we have this. Oh, we have that. Oh, we have the F-16. We are now getting the Patton tanks. Yes. Oh, now we are going to get these wonderful Chinese long-range missiles. Oh, we have the HQ-9s. Now, every one of these systems is shown up for what they are in combat. When every time India replies to that first blow that's struck by Pakistan, it's a flurry of blows that we hit them with. And then they realize, oh my God, no, now it's time to go back to the drawing board. Maybe we need more of this or we need more of that. So it's that unending kind of process when
maybe then we should strike harder and strike longer. But before I come back to how we need to continue, striking Pakistan repeatedly without fail, Ambassador Sajjanhar, are you disappointed the manner in which the world has reacted? I mean, not that Turkey was ever a friend, but that Operation Dosti, we helped them through the earthquake and we give them access to 8 or 9 airports for baggage handling, security handling and so on. And Turkey repeatedly stabs us in the back and so openly because Turkey has this wider dream of that Ottoman Empire coming back.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Gaurav. You asked 2 questions. One is as far as the world in general is concerned, are we disappointed? I will say not really disappointed, because I think what India has to send out a message to the world is that India will do what it needs to do as far as its security, territorial integrity and well-being of its people is concerned, irrespective of what the world says, thinks or does. And India did that. India demonstrated that. So I think that message has gone to the world very clearly. Second is as far as, the world in general, why did they, because people are saying China stood by Pakistan, Turkey stood by Pakistan, Azerbaijan stood by Pakistan. We had only Israel and Taiwan on our side. I think the whole world really was on our side. The whole world called up the Prime Minister and the External Affairs Minister after the 22nd. And they said India has full right to sort of, go after the perpetrators of this crime and so on and so forth. And justice should be meted and to the victims and given to the victims, and perpetrators should be punished. And I think after that, when it happened on the 7th, then of course the world was, that it should be, exactly what India has been saying as far as other wars and other things are concerned. So I'm not particularly bothered about that.
No, but for once the world needs to put Pakistan in the doghouse and in no uncertain terms. Fine, selling military hardware is one part of the story. But I'm surprised, Sushant Sareen, that Turkey openly sides with Pakistan and we give them access to 9 of our airports. They have access to some of our stations and they have access to certain other things in our country. Why would we permit that? Why would we permit that in our country at all when it's so openly hostile?
So, Gaurav, I think there are 2 reasons for it. One is what I would consider to be one of the failures of Indian foreign policy, that we simply do not understand a simple, immutable principle of international relations, that with hostile and enemy and adversarial countries, the principle is that no good deed that you do to them goes unpunished. So when we do Operation Dosti, we were going to be punished for what we did. So when your enemy is down and out or is suffering, please let him suffer more. Never help them. The second problem in how we deal with these kind of countries like Turkey and this third-rate Azerbaijan, which is famous for two things. One is oil, and the other I can't mention on your program. Uh, but the thing is that when you are dealing with such countries, having this open skies policy, having these arrangements between Turkish Airlines and Indian airlines, stuff like that. I think we should be very, very careful about what kind of countries we are dealing with, because
Yes.
many of these sectors are critical sectors, and you are allowing a overtly hostile country with an Islamist fascist regime in this old man Erdogan and his family of kleptocrats, or his regime of kleptocrats, I should say. We are giving them, a place to do business in India. Why? Why would we do that? What do the Turks sell anyways? Why can't we have, if you have to have a foreign company, why can't you go in for other foreign companies which are far more competitive and far more efficient than these Turks? So I
because
can't understand obsession in India to give them business and to help them. It beats the hell out of me why we do something
Dr.
like that.
Tara Karsa, because I'd like to understand. Of course, he will give you L1 rates because he's getting access to information. He's getting to know how many people move out of your airports. He'll get to know so much about your country. No wonder he'll probably do it for free. Where do we go wrong on our national security so drastically that Turkey is so well entrenched in our country and so openly hostile for decades? And then we have people in our own country batting for relationship with Turkey. Bizarre.
I think that is done. Nobody is going to bat for relations with Turkey anymore. We are done with them. But interestingly, see, it was not complete hostile behavior before 24, because I remember Erdogan saying that he would be proud to support us as the UN National Security Council member. See, in 24, we cancelled one huge contract with them, which in retrospect is a good thing. There was a huge contract in shipping, which we cancelled. And in this triangular relationship, Turkey, China, and Pakistan, the fact that Turkey for the first time stepped in so openly, I think we need more data on that. We need to know more. From your channel, from day one, I've been saying there's a factor which we haven't seen fully. So I'm not saying Turkey is your friend, but I think there is more to be examined here as to why it chose to step in this manner. And right now, this lot which have gone to Turkey just now, they just went. February Erdogan came. In May, when Pahalgan happened, Shahbaz Sharif was there. Now again he
Yes.
goes. What is going on? This guy's gone
No,
running.
because he wants to be the new caliph, Ambassador Sajjanhar. And Sandeep, I want you to weigh in on this again. After Ambassador Sajjanhar, he wants to be the new Khalifa of the Ottoman Empire, that whatever remains, he thinks he's the new caliph. And apparently he, along with Pakistan at one point of time, another country, wanted to counter Saudi Arabia and to be that country that comes up with the so-called evolved Islam, the educated Islam through Turkey and Pakistan and not Saudi Arabia. Wasn't that their game plan, Ambassador Sajjanhar?
Yeah, you're very right, Gaurav. It was that enlightened Islam, if you remember, in 2019. And
Yes.
they, had...
Imran Khan and Erdogan had that meeting in New York.
Exactly. And this in Malaysia. So, Mahathir and Erdogan,
yes.
and Pakistan, Imran Khan, they were to go. And Imran Khan was given sort of, a rap on his knuckles so that he had to stay back, because Saudi Arabia told him that if you are going, then you're not getting any money from us. Erdogan and Turkey has been with Pakistan for very long. You see, just look at this, Gaurav. 2014, Prime Minister Modi came to power. Today is 25, 11 years. How many times has Mr. Modi visited Turkey? Once. 2015 for the G20 summit. No single bilateral visit. That is because there is a problem with Turkey. When he came to India in 2017, he was speaking that, on the Kashmir issue, I'm going to raise the Kashmir issue. I'm going to mediate on the Kashmir issue. 2019, when we abrogated Article 370, he was the only world leader, who spoke out in the UN General Assembly. You remember when Imran Khan spoke for 45, 50 minutes? It was only Erdogan who spoke. It is not 24. It goes much beyond that. Whenever he has visited Pakistan, he has always said, Pakistan, Kashmir, it's an ummah. I will sort of, be with you. It is our ideological problem. It's not 24. 24, we did that $300 million shipbuilding contract, which we removed from them. They were not
Yes.
allowed to contest basically because of what they were doing all this. Meaning it is not that it started with that. That was a result of what Turkey was doing. But still, notwithstanding all that, we went for the dost, and maybe that was something that should not really have been
No,
done.
Sandeep, because the
we knew-
fact is, whether it's Azerbaijan, and Azerbaijan is a nondescript situation right now. Let's talk about Turkey arming Pakistan, and let's talk about China arming Pakistan, giving them weapons at 50% discount. Their weapons and systems failed. They collapsed, and I have it on authority from officers who actually were involved in the targeting of their air defense system that completely failed. I mean, if it couldn't save itself, how could it save Lahore? But the fact remains that China's actions are also openly hostile.
Absolutely, Gaurav. And in fact, China and both China and Turkey have been arming Pakistan over the last couple of years. And, very quickly, Gaurav, the point that Ambassador Sajanar made about the Turkish shipbuilding contract, when we forced that Turkish company to leave that five ships contract for the Indian Navy. It was a contract to build 5 fleet support vessels in Visakhapatnam at the Hindustan shipyard in collaboration with the Turkish shipyard, Anadolu. The government of India woke up last year and they ejected the Turkish company from that. And Gaurav, the ships were to be made in Visakhapatnam, a stone's throw away from the most sensitive shipbuilding yard in India, the shipbuilding center where India makes her nuclear submarines. That is how close the Turks had come to one of our most sensitive military bases. And this is something, we had raised the red flags on this when this Turkish company had been, shortlisted for building that contract for those 5 ships. And it's, thank God, somebody woke up in the government and realized. And we have to thank Erdogan for, saying and doing the things that he did. Otherwise, can you imagine that security breach of Turkish engineers sitting right next to India's most sensitive shipbuilding base where we build our strategic submarines?
Yes.
It's that close. They literally share a boundary wall. That's how close we had come in this whole thing of, this
At one point of time, pre-2014, we were giving coastal radars to a Chinese company, and that was again such a disaster. Sushant, the problem somewhere down the line is we have too many elements within the system who very clearly are not working in the best national interest, it would appear. And somewhere down the line, this needs a very major wake-up call. The manner in which Pakistan is now being openly armed by China and Turkey, and the manner in which some of these companies had entrenched themselves in our country.
Yeah, but Gaurav, I think there are a couple of problems. I won't attribute any serious ulterior motive of, of the kind that somebody is trying to commit treason until I have adequate evidence. But I would attribute it to sheer incompetence and ignorance among a lot of people who take these decisions, especially when you have these criteria of L1, for example.
L1,
right?
the lowest bidder. Yeah.
This is without any consideration for the security aspect of what you are entering into, the sensitivity of a project. As Sandeep says, that you are building these ships right next to one of your most sensitive, naval bases or naval manufacturing facilities, and you are giving this contract to a country which people often forget. For the last 10-15 years, Gaurav, Turkey has been at the center of international propaganda against India on Kashmir, on this whole issue of persecution of Muslims. Much of the Pakistani propaganda is actually churned out in Turkey. Turkey has been taking Muslims from India and Kashmiri Muslims, taking them to Turkey, indoctrinating them, inciting them, instigating them against India, using them to spread propaganda against India. And you have people in government giving them contracts. You had people in government giving the Chinese contracts to your telecom systems. Can you believe that? That you are leaving your entire telecom systems to the Chinese before the Chinese did us a favor by Galwan, and then you threw them out of all critical infrastructure. But there are still some legacy.
Now it took an Operation Sindoor and it took Pahalgam to throw them out here, but I'm sorry I've run out of time on this part of the show. And this is a story that's been disturbing me for a very, very long time. Chinese in critical infrastructure, Turkey in critical infrastructure, in India, two countries that are so openly hostile, and there are others who are operating through other systems, but we will continue to unmask them. We will continue to get you facts first on India first. That is all I have for you on this special broadcast. To all my guests, many thanks for watching.